Alright guys, today we'll be recreating the manga cover for Dragon Ball Chapter 227, entitled The Emperor Stirs. Now, I assume the Emperor here is Vegeta, but he's a prince, not an emperor, so kinda weird, but okay. This is the chapter where Vegeta ends Nappa and Goku leads him to Gizzard Wasteland. Yeah, I didn't know this place had a name either, where they get ready to start their fight. The anime equivalents of this chapter are DBZ episodes 29 and 30 and DBZ Kai episode 13, which we just covered in part 2 of our Every DBZ Fight You Can Recreate with SH Figuarts series. For this cover, we'll be needing 3 SH Figuarts figures. Yes, 3, not 2. You'll see why. The first figure we'll need is a carryover from episode 1, every scalper's favorite Goku, Lowest Born Saiyan. To properly prepare this figure for this cover, we'll need 4 things. First, we'll need the body, of course. Second is the teeth-gritted head sculpt, which thankfully is not looking off to the side. Although I will say in this case, if his eyes were looking off to the side, that would actually make my life easier. But I can't roast Bandai for having eyes looking off to the side and then also roast them when the eyes are looking forward, you know? We've got to be consistent, right? And we're no strangers to photoshopping eyes, so we'll fix that. The third thing we need is his right martial arts pose hand, which is actually really close to how Goku's hand is posed on the cover. And finally, his left fist. The second SHF figure we'll need is of course a Vegeta. But I'll be using the 24,000 power level Vegeta. I actually put the Dragon Star's waist armor on mine to make him look like he did in the Saiyan Saga, thanks to Logofigs for his tutorial, which made me aware that you could do this. But you actually don't need this mod for this cover, since Vegeta's waist isn't visible. WoW Super Action Studio recently revealed that they're making a Saiyan Saga Vegeta, so this mod of mine might not be around for much longer. Hopefully, I'll finally have both a Saiyan Saga and Namek Saga Vegeta. And while Super Action Studio, if you're watching this, please make both a normal and battle damaged version. And make it accurate, unlike the lazy job Black Hole Toys did, which was not accurate to the Saiyan Saga, since it still had the waist armor and it didn't have baggy pants. Yes, I'm gonna keep bringing up those baggy pants until someone makes them. But back to this figure. Apart from the body itself, we're also gonna be using his smiling faceplate and his left fist. The last figure we'll need is the SHF Super Saiyan Vegeta, but only a certain faceplate. Now, if you're a stickler for accuracy like I am, then you can probably tell why we need this figure. But for those of you who aren't completely sure where I'm going with this, it'll all be made clear later. Time for some posing. First, we have Lowest Born Saiyan Goku. Since he's floating in the air, I have him connected to my makeshift rig, which is literally just a bendy phone holder that I spray painted green. This pose was much easier to accomplish than the one from episode 1. Next we have Vegeta. This one is a real close-up, so it's times like these where I definitely need my webcam instead of my phone because it can focus much closer. If I tried taking this with my phone, I'd have to position him much further away from the camera for it to focus properly. Also, I'm not gonna take just one picture of Vegeta, but 2. One where his face is in focus, and another where his hand is in focus. I'll then blend them to make one image. Finally, we have the Super Saiyan Vegeta faceplate. And now's the time to reveal why we need this. Look at Vegeta's smile on the cover. His mouth is open quite a bit, but the smile on the 24,000 power level Vegeta is much more subtle. So what we're gonna do is take an image of this Super Saiyan Vegeta smile, which is much closer to the one on the cover, and then Photoshop his smile onto the 24,000 power level Vegeta to get an overall more accurate expression. With all these images taken, it's time for the graphic design. The first thing we need to do is remove the green screen for lowest born Saiyan Goku. Now originally, I was planning to use DaVinci Resolve for the green screen, but for some reason, it kept failing whenever I tried to export a 4K image with a transparent background. This doesn't make any sense because I exported a 4K image with a transparent background for episode 1. I've heard DaVinci Resolve customer support is useless, so I just decided to go the manual route in GIMP. The next step for Goku was to edit his eyes to look off to the side. So, kinda weird, right? The opposite of what I usually do. Before I started working on Vegeta, I decided to work on the background instead. I knew that manually removing Vegeta and Goku from this background would be a nightmare, so I just took a screenshot from the DBZ Kai intro and used that instead. Work smarter, not harder. After spending probably over an hour editing the background, I later realized that I had to completely redo it in order to make those white lines look the way I want. But you'll see the difference later. Once I was done with the background, or so I thought, it was time for Vegeta. Once again, because of the body proportions being different on the figure compared to the manga, I had to decide how much of Vegeta's fist I wanted to show versus how large his face should be. I decided that showing most of his fist was super important, so his face ended up being a bit smaller than the manga Vegeta. Next, it was time to add the Super Saiyan Vegeta smile to the 24,000 power level Vegeta. I then had to decide whether I was going to keep those white lines or not, and I decided to keep them. I used the Marius Oberholster image again, but this time I made the lines white. While editing these lines, I realized that due to how the rock formation was positioned in my background, I couldn't get the lines to look similar enough to the cover. So, what does that mean? I completely redid the background. I gave the white lines black outlines and made some finishing touches. So here it is. The Emperor stirs in SH Figuarts form. Accomplishing these poses was way easier than episode 1, so I think this one is much more accurate. But will that be the case for the next cover? Guess we'll have to wait and see. Let me know what other Dragon Ball manga covers we should recreate. I know that one of you requested covers from original Dragon Ball, but I have literally 0 original Dragon Ball figures in my collection right now, so these suggestions are much more likely to be made sooner. In fact, if you haven't already, you should watch my collection video from January 2025 and the recent Every Dragon Ball Figure I Got in 2025 video to get an idea of what figures I currently own. Be sure to subscribe if you enjoy this series. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.